My pitch is for a book called Do Ask, Do Tell, A Gay Conservative Lashes Back. There are actually 3 books in the series. The second one was called When Freedom is Stressed, and the third one is called Speech is a Fundamental Right. Being listened to is a privilege. That's from 2014. The last one is a lot more about free speech and about the way things have evolved, more recently. Although that was 2014. Things have changed a lot even since. But this is about the pitch I did today is about the first book, about the end of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and my role in it. The pitch is kind of based on chapters 1, 2, and 4 of the book, where I was thrown out of school for admitting that or saying to the dean that I was a latent homosexual in 1961. That's how things were then. And then in the second part of the pitch is about how I served in the military myself after graduate school and how student deferments, some people went to Vietnam and some people didn't, and there was an incentive to stay out of the military and being drafted, which the military had to fight off, so they stopped asking sexual orientation. A lot of people don't know that in the mid-60s. And the third part is the 1993 when Bill Clinton decided to try to lift the ban on gays in the military. And I've had a little bit of a part in that. We delivered a letter to the White House. I had a pastor who had a friend from a church I attended, the First Baptist Church in the city of Washington, D.C., who knew Bill Clinton and actually delivered a letter to the White House before Bill Clinton announced his Don't Ask, Don't Tell, Don't Pursue in July of 1993 from Fort McNair in southeast Washington, D.C., southwest or something. But anyway, yeah, it did this morning because the pitch I had this morning was far too verbose. So I kind of broke it down into dot points rather than complete sentences and shortened it so that I was able to get the pitch in probably about a minute and 50 seconds. Whereas this morning I was like 2 minutes and 30 seconds, really able to whittle it down. And also you don't have to give the log line as part of the pitch. That would take up time. It's just the story itself. And the focus was more on the narrative story than on the ideological meaning. Even though today, for example, things have changed, as a point of information, for example, the transgender issue for the military is not the same as gays in the military. That was something that Trump, whittled away at, and then Biden lifted, and now Congress wants to lift again. But also the whole culture, this whole thing about gender ideology right now, that's not in the book because that's come up a lot more recently. However, some of the reasoning, some of the ideas about why something is objected to, back in the early 60s, people were afraid that even in a college dorm that if somebody was sexually interested in other people of the same sex in a dorm, that was even covertly, even if he didn't talk about it, that people just thought he was, that was disruptive. Now that's not true anymore. Nobody really thinks that, but that's what people thought in the early 60s. It started getting better in the middle 60s with the civil rights movement, even before Stonewall. But today, the debate is not sexual orientation, but it's gender identity and whether or not, transgender men, women are intruding on women's spaces, or whether you should even delay puberty for people who think they have a gender identity. I'm sure that it's a totally different debate, but yet you can trace some of the ideas back to what was going on then with just a different set of parameters. So I don't think it's as different as you think it is. But all of this stuff is a lot more recent. Most of it has come up since the start of COVID, really. The whole environment has gotten a lot worse since the start of COVID. Everything's gotten a lot more polarized. I don't have anybody I don't know who would play me at 18. I'm not right enough, but you would have to to film the book the way I presented it, you'd have to show the world as it was in 1961 and then the Army as it was in 1968, with a little bit. But then you'd have to show the world as it was in the middle 90s. It'd be like a 3-part film, or maybe even 3 episodes on Netflix or something like that. And so you'd have to show it as it was then. And so you'd have to film, if it was active, you'd have to find actors and you'd have to set up the set of the world as it looked. It would take some effort to show the world just like it did set in the past. The way it looked in 1961 isn't the way it looks now. But Williamsburg, which is where William and Mary is, didn't look that different then, because it was colonial Williamsburg. So that's kind of an advantage if you did the filming there of the William and Mary part, the expulsion. This went fast. It was helpful. This was went a little faster than the one in New York did. The main advantage was that when you went into the pitch room, you got to talk to 2 or 3 people at the table, not just one. Whereas in New York, you only got to talk to one person at a table in April. So it's much better because about 20 people, 15 to 20 people hear your pitch rather than just 7. Even though they're divided into 3 groups and 7 different companies or something, you have a lot more opinions. So a lot more people know what you have to say. So that's a real advantage.